Hello there, and welcome to the tour of the Jackal Main Battle HoverTank, the 7th vehicle in my Armoured Fighting Hover Vehicles series of vehicles. My name is Wimperman, and I am the Chief Designer, Chief Builder, Chief Architect, and Chief Dumbass behind the Jackal Medium HoverTank Update project. Now, as usual, with my tours of an updated vehicle, we are first going to start with a look at the original vehicle. So here is the original Jackal medium hover tank over here. Now, this was built before the game was released, so of course there was no such thing as weights and volumes, so there was no ammo container controllers and extensions. There was also no CPU, so there was no CPU extensions, and there was no shields. So several things I needed to update on it. Now, as we go and have a look at the updated vehicle, you will see that it's not a huge amount different. I've kept the general layout of it. The turret emplacement on top has changed a little bit. Misspoke, because actually I ripped that one straight off the... I did it on 2, and I can't remember which it was on first. I think it was the Fox Light Tank, but I could be wrong. So here we go. It had a artillery turret on top and 3 minigun turrets, Gatling turrets. All of those are the same. It also had 2 Gatling guns, and even those are the same. You'll notice that the side skirts are roughly the same. The interior has changed. So one of the things I knew that was going to happen, and you'll notice as we look at the next one, although the rough geometry is the same, it's scaled up, and that's because obviously to put in just the shield is 6 blocks, would take up 6 blocks of space that this just doesn't have. And then, of course, the pentaxid tank is another 2, but you could argue that would just go in the place of one of the fuel tanks, so actually that's not quite the same, excuse me. On top of that also is the CPU extenders. Well, I knew that with all this weaponry it would have to be tier 4. It is a low tier 4, but it is tier 4, so that's 4 of the 2x1 CPU extenders, which is another 8 blocks of space it would require inside, and of course the ammo containers. Although I didn't have a specific size in mind, I knew I wanted them to, however many I had, to total at least 2,000 SU, if not more. So again, that's actually I don't know exactly. Is that 10 blocks? No. 2,000 divided by 125 per thingy, so 16 container extensions and the controller to be at least 2,000. So what was it? 16 plus the 6 for the shield, 22 plus the 8, so 30. 30 more blocks of space I needed to find in this design. Oh, I forgot to pause time. There we go, that's sorted. Right, so now that we've had a look at the original... Oh, actually, let's have a quick look inside. I did come in here briefly, but this is what it originally looked like. It's quite cramped. And yeah, that is the best we could do pre-release for LCDs, or at least the best I could do. There were other people who could do better, even with the limited amount of stuff we could do, but as you can see, this hasn't been converted to the new mode of screens, so there was no formatting at all. That was what we had, basically. So there we go then. Let's have a look now around the updated vehicle, and we will start with its role and its task equipment. So it is a main battle hover tank, akin to something like the Challenger 2 or the Abrams in today's money. So that means it is used for what did I call it? It was ground combat / frontline armor. There we go. and it's used for fighting other armour and infantry. And in order to facilitate those roles, and actually it could be used against bases, it has obviously a tank gun, it has some Gatling turrets for defense, some Gatling guns for offense against infantry, it has a shield, and it is fairly well armoured. There we go, that's right. Right, so the next segment then is its propulsion, handling and lift capacity. So its propulsion then is fairly simple. It has 2 medium tier 2 and 2 large tier 2 thrusters in all directions. Medium, large, all tier 2. So for lift, it has by default 8 small hover engines. Now that will allow you to operate in 2G. So in 2G, it will lift 81.5 tons, just those 8. And the vehicle itself is 65.5 tons. So it will operate in 2G. It also has 6 more, 3 on each side, set to max lift. And with max lift on, it will lift 71.3 tons. And again, it's only 65.5, so it will operate in 4G. I don't necessarily know how much ammo it would then be able to carry. I haven't tested that, but I know it will operate. As you can see, it also has some jump boosters in case you need to clear an obstacle or something, or get out of a hole or whatever. So for its mobility, its maneuverability is 16 meters per second squared acceleration in all directions. Again, it has the same amount of thrusters in all 4 directions. For agility, its yaw is 28 degrees per second, its roll is 13 degrees per second, and its pitch is 6 degrees per second. Now, these front hover engines are 1 block higher than the rest, and I did that to help it either transfer up a slope like a hill or a ramp, or at the bottom of it coming down so that you can transit back to level ground, as it were. That's the idea of those. Now that does mean with the 2G and the 4G lift capacity, so in 4G, these 12 weren't enough to lift this vehicle. It needed 14. And actually, I didn't have to add extras. They were part of the design. Oh, shit. I despawned the old one, but even the old one had hover engines there. I don't know if you saw. I didn't actually give you a proper look, but they did. Even those were on the original. But since these 12 aren't enough to lift it in 4G, but all 14 are, I'm not sure how the game would do that. I think you might lose. Nina. Okay, there we go. The IRL ambulance has gone. So I think in 4Gs what will happen is, because the hover engines required to actually lift it in 4Gs are 0.5 meter higher than the rest, that you will actually lose 0.5 meter in hover height. So you might actually be only able to get up to 2.5 meters, but I don't know because I haven't tested it. I'm too lazy to do that. So its handling then, let's give it a quick test drive. Now, this is how it handles with pilot mode off. Its max speed is only 45. But still, never mind. This is with pilot mode on. There's my measuring platform over there. So, I mean, it's not brilliant, but it's not terrible in my opinion. And, you know, as I always say with a lot of my stuff, it is sort of form following function. So this is a main battle tank. It's not going to handle like a Formula 1 car, so, you know, I'm okay with it not. I mean, as you can see, there's plenty of real estate down the side skirts here that I could have just filled it full of thrusters and it could have been better. But I kind of didn't want to. Right, so that's the end of that segment then. The next segment is its power, fuel, and air. So its power generation is provided by 4 large generators. It has no other generators either for decoys or for backup power. It's just the 4 that provide it with its primary power. Fuel, it has 5 fuel tanks that are large. It has no smalls. It has a pentaxid tank. It has 5 O2 tanks. It has 1 O2 station and 2 ventilators. And like I usually do, I will show you that it is airtight in here. Oh my god. Those who know will know. Again. So there we go. There are the blue shapes to prove that it is airtight in here. The O2 station is there and the ventilators are at the front. So that moves us on to the next segment then, which is its weapons, defences and construction. So its weapons, it has an artillery turret as its tank turret. It has, which is set to the following targeting parameters. It will attack the weapons of bases and HVs. It has 3 Gatling turrets arranged in the same arrangement as was arranged on the original, and they are set to anti-personnel, so they will target NPCs, players and drones, and also predators. It also has 2 fixed Gatling guns. It has a shield, which is in there. Its armour, now, its armour profile is the opposite way round of basically all of the other AFHVs up till this point. So its armour is hardened steel. So for example, if we go in here, we'll see some lag shot armour that is hardened steel. And then the construction of the vehicle is all combat steel. So yeah, the armour is the lesser HP blocks and the main body is the more HP blocks. Right, that's the end of that segment. The next segment then is its resource gathering, production and storage. Like most of the AFHVs, this is going to be a fairly quick segment. Resource gathering, it has none. The original, I'm pretty sure, had a harvester module on the front, but I've started taking those off of the AFHVs because I thought it would take away something from the actual wood gathering vehicles. If your tank could do it too, why would you need a lawnmower? So, production, it has no constructors. And its storage, it has 2 1,500 SU. Sorry, it was there and I moved it. It has 2 1,500 SU ammo containers, 1 on each side. And obviously the extensions for those are there. It has a large and a small cargo box, an armour locker, and 2 mini fridges. That's the end of that segment then. So the next segment is its interior layout and any remaining devices. So the only way to access the interior is through the back. As you can see, the ramps are on a motion sensor, as is the lights, 1 there and 1 on each side, there and there. The door is manual. As you walk in, you get some medical equipment. Respawn point there. A Healy point there. A box supposedly for your meds. Then the armor locker and a small cargo box underneath it for extra armor mods there. The O2 station is on the other side forward of the respawn point, the clone chamber. The generators are in front of those. and the CPU extenders are above and in front of those generators. Forward of that, we then have the seating and the fridges and most of the O2. There is one O2 tank under the O2 station. All the rest is up here. As you can see, there's one under the ventilator and one to the side. You might be able to see it there in the corner. And you'll also see that the seats have some LCD work going on in here. The driver's seat has, as usual, some holo displays to show you what the device, hang on, the toggleable shortcuts are. There we go. Which moves us on to the shortcuts and signals. So starting with the device group toggleables then, we have as usual Propulsion etc. as the first one. Now that will of course turn on all of the thrusters and what I referred to earlier on as the default hover engines. The next one down, as you saw, is Max Lift, and that will turn on the other hover engines. Then we have a switch for the headlights. There are 4 on this vehicle. We have a narrow angle pair on the inboard. Let's see if we can find it yet. With a spot angle of 70 degrees. These are set to spotlight mode, by the way, I should have said. And then we have some wide angle spotlight mode lights on the outboard, set to 110. The next one down is the tail lights. As usual, my vehicles come with my patented red flares on the back. Now, if you don't like them, you can turn them off. And if you absolutely hate them, you can multi-tool them off. Again, as usual, as you saw, the next one down is the ventilators. Now, if we, just in case you haven't seen other tour videos of mine, I will go through it real quick. If we have a look at the power left and turn the oxygen off, the power left doesn't change because although the ventilators suck the oxygen back in and don't fill the vehicle with more, they're not turned off. So if we turn the ventilators off, you'll see that the power left does change, and it is a fair amount. So I've given you that option to save a bit of power if you're in an atmosphere that is breathable. So that moves us on then to the custom signals shortcuts, and as usual the first one is power save. Now turning power save on will turn off the motion sensors that control the lights and the ramps. It will turn off the Wi-Fi. Oh yeah, I forgot to do the any remaining devices, didn't I? So the Wi-Fi is there. You probably also noticed what's next to it. Just in case you want to know, the detector is in this little cubby hole here, which is actually above the core. Now I can't remember what I was talking about. Oh yeah, the things it turns off. So it turns off the Wi-Fi and the motion sensors. It'll also turn off the LCD projectors. Did I add those? Yes, I did. Good. The keyboards. And I'm pretty sure that's it. So as I explained with the, I think it was the Liger IFHV, the Infantry Fighting Hover Vehicle. Up to that point, I was adding some of the generators to power save. Now, I'm not actually sure if turning some of the generators off does actually save any fuel. Because I think you use what you need, if that makes sense. So even though there's 4 generators running, if you only require the power of 1/10 of one, it'll only use the fuel for 1/10 of one generator. It won't keep using 100% of 4. But I haven't done that with that because, as with the IFHV, I don't want you to accidentally blow everything up if you turn power save on while the shield is recharging, because that will make, obviously that will be too much for one generator to handle and it will all go pop, as far as I know. So the next signal down is the tank turret. which will turn on the artillery turret on top. I'm sure you can guess what the next two down do as well. The Gatling gun, the Gatling turrets is here, this one, and the Gatling guns are the one below it. Now, although there is just a shortcut key for turning the shields on and off, I have given you a toggleable as well. Although I'm not sure it's really necessary. I can't remember now why I started doing it. Fuck's sake. English today. I've had not a lot of sleep, by the way, in case you're wondering. I'm also a dumbass, which you may have missed at the beginning in the intro. Right, so shields. Yeah, I did it for a reason, and now I can't remember what the reason is. But there was a reason, and I can't remember now. But whatever. And finally is the closed door. Now, just in case, again, this is the first tour of my new scene. I've given you a toggleable switch just in case you leave the door open when you sit in the seat. I didn't want you to have to get out of the seat and walk back to the door. So if we flick this switch, you'll see the door close. Magic. And you'll also notice it doesn't do anything else either. So it won't open it again. It'll just close it. Right, so that's the end of that segment then, which leads us on to the last segment, which is its CPU and upgrading. Now this is going to be a fairly simple one. So I've already told you where the core is. It's there. And where all the CPU extenders are. They are here. The CPU, it's it's just over a third of the allowed CPU. 37,800 and some out of the 100,000 that you can use. So there is some room to play with. However, there isn't a built-in upgrade path. So there are no spare slots or any room or space to add stuff. I mean, that doesn't mean you can't, because, I mean, I could quite easily see people ripping this away and putting extra turrets. Maybe not there because of the thrusters, but, I mean, you could if you wanted to. You could probably change some block shaping here and put another one there if you really wanted to. So there is some room to play with. It's just not built in. Now, before I go, I will quickly show you, as I have been doing with the AFHVs, the other colours that they all come with. So the vehicle comes in the desert sand colour, but I've also given you the option of painting it in this military green, and this Arctic white, and finally this ever so slightly blue dark grey, in case you would like to camouflage it for different environments. Of course, and I'm sure I don't need to say it, but you can change these colours as well and paint it whatever you like. You could paint it pink for all I care. Right, so there we go. I think that's everything. Right, so thank you very much for taking an interest in the Jackal Main Battle HoverTank. I hope you get some use out of it, and hopefully I will see you in another video for a different build. So thank you again, and goodbye.